Good afternoon. Thanks, everyone, for coming. I'd like to welcome and thank our law enforcement partners, Department of Investigation Commissioner Jocelyn Strauber, who's joined by Inspector General Gregory Cho, valuable partners on this matter and in so many matters in this space that we work on. And in addition, Inspector Michael Highland of the NYPD's Criminal Enterprise Investigative Section, obviously another valuable partner for us in so much that we do, the NYPD. And from my office, the prosecutors responsible and overseeing this action, ADA's Meredith McGowan, Guy Tardanico, and Jaime Hickey Mendoza, who are in charge of this prosecution. So we are here today, as many of you know by now, to announce the takedown of a multi-million-dollar kickback scheme that undermined fair play in New York City's construction industry for nearly a decade, led by Robert Basilice, an executive at a major construction management firm, 24 individuals, and their 26 companies. They all conspired to corrupt the competitive bidding process for dozens of contracts. These companies worked on some of New York's most significant high-rise projects in recent memory, including luxury condominiums like the Remy in Chelsea, 75 Kinmare in Nolita, and also upscale hotels like the Fidei Hotel, the Fifth Avenue Hotel, among many others. So let me walk you through the scheme. As Vice President, Basilice oversaw his firm's subcontractor bidding process. He was responsible for providing developers with truthful and accurate information, and that part is key, and acting in the best interest of those developers. You'll hear he did absolutely to the contrary, we allege. So instead, beginning in April 2013, Basilice used his position to steal from his developer clients, and he did that principally in three ways: directing his team to include specific subcontractors on bidder lists, providing subcontractors inside information about competitors' bids, and directing subcontractors to raise their bids to include a kickback for Basilice, room to negotiate with developers, and as much profit as possible within the developers' budgets. Basilice then lobbied developers to select his co-conspirators and participated in the final negotiations, including pretending to persuade the subcontractors to lower their price. His words, not mine, he called this, we allege, his dog and pony show, seemingly twisting the subcontractors' arms to lower their price. And if you'll, here we have a text message exchange of exactly that kind of exchange, as I just noted, and other evidence that shows that this dog and pony show was exactly that. It was a farce. In exchange for manipulating the bidding process, subcontractors paid kickbacks to Basilice, his company, the DVA Group, and others, including companies owned by his associates, who are, you'll see set forth in the indictment. And in turn, those associates distributed some of those proceeds to companies owned by another associate, FRANK CAMUSO, and his family. In total, the subcontractors paid more than $4,200,000 in kickbacks to Basilice, his family, and his companies, and more than $2,800,000 in kickbacks owned to companies by associates LOUIS ASTUTO, Paul NOTO, and other associates. Through this corrupted bidding process, the defendant stole from the developers by purposely inflating subcontracts and knowingly charging higher prices. Here you'll see in this demonstrative, Basilice and an electrical contractor texting one another to do just that. This is the farce that we allege in the indictment. Basilice also recommended change orders for the subcontractors after they were hired, generating additional income for the subcontractors and additional kickbacks to Basilice. In total, the defendant stole more than $5 million from the developers over the course of the conspiracy. That's certainly a significant amount of money, but the harm here goes well beyond the monetary amounts. When the bidding process is rigged, we all lose. The market suffers from a lack of quality competition. Developers are prevented from hiring the best companies at fair prices. And importantly, and I want to really underscore this point, honest, law-abiding companies are pushed out by those that break the law. So in total, we have 24 individuals, all of whom have surrendered to the Manhattan DA's office and will be arraigned later today at 2:15 alongside representatives of the 26 charged companies in Part 62. The charges include conspiracy, grand larceny, bid rigging, and more. I hope this 83-count indictment sends a message that the Manhattan DA's office, our important partners at the NYPD and DOI, will not tolerate this type of bribery, corruption, and fraud in Manhattan. We will use our combined expertise and resources to ensure fair and free competition and a fair and open market. And with that, I'll turn that over to DOI Commissioner Jocelyn Strauber.
Thank you, DA Bragg. I'm pleased to join you today and Inspector Hyland from the Police Department to announce the indictment in this important case. As alleged, Robert Basilice and his co-conspirators stole millions from Basilice's clients, developers of high-rise buildings in Manhattan. Their scheme involved obtaining bids for work from complicit subcontractors who increased their bid prices, as you heard, to generate funds to pay kickbacks to Basilice and his co-defendants. The developers were not the only victims here. Commercial bribery schemes like this one drive up construction costs in New York City. And these criminal schemes also deprive law-abiding subcontractors and their employees of a fair opportunity to participate in the bidding process and be awarded contracts. DOI investigators with expertise in these types of schemes worked alongside the dedicated ADAs and the NYPD on this lengthy investigation, and we stand with you today to make clear that this kind of private commercial corruption will not be tolerated. I want to take a minute to tell you about the steps that DOI is taking to protect the city's interests here. First, 14 of the entity defendants charged today hold a professional license with the city's Department of Buildings, and they will be referred to that department for review. Those 14 cover a range of professions, 11 general contractors, 2 electricians, and 1 plumber. DOB has authority to take a number of steps with respect to auditing and monitoring these defendants and, depending on the outcome of these criminal charges, meting out discipline up to and including license revocation. Second, with the unsealing of this indictment, DOI will be working to place warnings, called cautions, on 16 of the defendant contractors in the city's passport database, which is the city's digital procurement platform available to every city agency contracting officer and which manages every stage of the procurement process. These warnings will notify contracting officers of the charges in this case so that should these defendants seek to contract with the city in the future, contracting officers can make informed decisions. I want to note here that only one of the defendants, Alba Services, Inc., currently contracts with the city as a primary vendor. That contractor is also on a pre-qualified list to perform emergency work for the city and has done so on several occasions in the last 2 years. DOI will be in touch with the relevant city agencies to inform them of the charges in the indictment and to assist them in determining whether any further action is necessary. Finally, 2 of the defendants, Northeast Services Interiors and Alba Carting, a different entity from Alba Services, Inc., hold construction and demolition registration licenses from the City Business Integrity Commission. DOI will make BIC, the Business Integrity Commission, aware of this indictment so that BIC can take any action that it deems appropriate. While it's important to emphasize here that the allegations do not involve illegal conduct in connection with city contracts, the charges are a reminder that bribery, kickbacks, and larceny among private businesses have a high cost and a broad impact. And DOI is proud to stand here today with the Manhattan District Attorney and the NYPD to protect the city from the damaging effect of this type of corruption. I want to thank DA Bragg and the Assistant District Attorneys who worked on this investigation, Meredith McGowan, Guy Tardanico, and Jaime Hickey Mendoza, and their supervisors, Rackets Bureau Chief Jody Kane and Deputies Judy Salwen and Michael Alm. I also want to thank the NYPD's Criminal Enterprise Investigative Section for their partnership on this investigation. And finally, I want to recognize the dedication and skill of DOI's investigators who worked on this case, Chief Investigator James McGilligan, Assistant Inspector General Dan Taylor, and Inspector General Gregory Cho. Thank you.
Thanks so much.